those who have to help her, and also build on her previous experiences, both within the line of Winter Ball and as an ex-team member. She has seen how major events are put on and organised within Hatfield. She is reliable. For our first line of Winter Ball meeting, she literally ran from the train station after greeting her dad, who had flown all the way from Turkey, just so she couldn't be late. She is meticulous and organised, consequently allowing her to be elected to the position of head of logistics at her school's Model UN conference. She is approachable and willing to take on new ideas for new and existing events within Hatfield. She also has a great work ethic, giving 100% to each activity. Take making decorations for the Michaelmas Ball. She got blisters from the amount of snowflakes she had to cut out. Furthermore, with an amazing sense of fun, what more could you look for in a sofa set? Namely, she is called Asdale Armagan, and luckily I have learnt a way to say her name. Thank you.
Okay, so obviously Hatfield is an extremely important part of college calendar, and many students rely on it as an outlet at the end of exams. This is obviously a large amount of pressure on you. The organisation is likely to coincide with your exams, and a lot of work that you'll be doing at that time of year. How will you make sure that Hatfield Day is a success with all of these pressures, and how will you manage your time?
First of all, I'd like to say that if appointed to the role, I would begin asking, probably from day one, to first of all the members of the organising team of last year's Hatfield Day, and also just to people that attended, to find out what worked, what didn't work, what you liked, what you'd like to see again maybe, but also what you maybe prefer not to have. And I would just make sure to research it the best way I can, and I'd be open to suggestions from anyone and everyone. In addition to that, I may be inexperienced or a stranger to Hatfield Day specifically, but I'm not a stranger to managing my time when it comes to organising really big school events, I'd say, or in this case, college events. The Model UN conference that Charlotte was so sweetly talking about in her speech, it was for 500 students from 20 different countries around the world, and I was in charge of accommodation, transportation, talking to all their advisors, mealtime, sponsorships, publicity, this and that, and basically all the technical details that have to go into making a big fun event for everyone. It was a 4-day conference, and in the end, after you organize events like this, you're knackered, but you just sit back and you're like, yes, it has worked. And I did that during my IB examinations, and anyone that's done IB, I don't know, it's a big hassle. You do have to learn how to allocate your time efficiently, otherwise it's just not going to work. You're going to have to compromise on one or the other. But I would do my absolute best to basically give every effort I can to make it a big deal this year. I know I have a lot to live up to from last year's, but I know it's the finalist last event of the year. It's the finalist last event of the year, and for freshmen it's going to be a first impression for them, and I want to make it count for both teams, and of course for second years and third years that are not finalists. So, basically, that's what I try to do.
Thank you. So, in the same vein, can you sort of try and give everybody an idea of what's in your head in terms of what you'd like to do for Hatfield Day, or any other ideas for the whole year at all?
For Hatfield Day, like I said, regarding details, I am indebted to everyone that was there last year and also the organising team for ideas. But I'm sure that once the ball gets rolling, I would also be coming up with different ideas. Like I had a completely random idea that is not actually part of Hatfield tradition at all. But in my own school, I put on, as a social secretary of the student council, a new event called Battle of the Bands. Anyone that's into music, I hope would like that, and it's basically, I would try to put that on in Hatfield as well for anyone that's into any kind of music. It doesn't have to be rock music or jazz music specifically, any genre. And I try to work with university unions as well, like for example, BAMSOC, or just basically Hatfield Music Society as well. I try to get a more integrated approach to music and arts and social events in college, trying to put on new things. and just being open to ideas that anyone else might have. I'd be completely approachable, and I would be fully prepared to listen to anything you have to say.
Relationship with college officers is key in your role. Often so many people have ideas of what they want for college, and that can often conflict with actually what's best for the Hatfield JCR. How will you make sure that your opinion is heard, how they will hear it, and how will students benefit from this?
I've had experience with working with college officers, especially in the last few months, thanks to line and winter ball meetings and our frequent college officer meetings. And I do know that at times it can be difficult to have the needs of the student correspond with the needs of the administration of the college. And for that, there's a lot of compromise that has to be made, a lot of negotiations, constant back and forth. It's not me that does it in line and winter, but I know the people that do it are working really hard to make sure that line and winter, by the way, this is a shameless plug right here for line and winter ball. But I know how hard it is to actually make sure that everyone is happy, not only the students, but the people that are going to be supervising as administrators. And I would be fully prepared to go into correspondence with them, email correspondence, or meetings in person. Coming into college, I would be living out next year, but I would not mind coming to college every day if I have to, if it means that I have to talk to the college officers to make sure that events are pulled off the way both you guys want it and in a way that they would tolerate it. So, yeah.
What is your opinion on NCR involvement in social events?
MCR, as Marie was talking about, MCR involvement in Hatfield, as far as I've noticed as a first year, is not too big in social events, and I would definitely try to make a change for that because I have been lucky enough to meet a few MCR members, and they're absolutely awesome, great fun, and they would actually prefer to be a part of college events much more than they are right now. And for that, as an exec member, perhaps with Maria herself, I wouldn't mind attending MCR events and actually getting correspondence with them about whether or not they'd like to join in as well with JCR events. And actually not having a distinction necessarily and making it a college event as opposed to just a JCR or an MCR event. And for that, I think I would be prepared to go to MCR meetings or just formal, informal meetings, it doesn't matter. And just make sure that they are being able to participate in Hatfield as much as JCR are, because it's good to be a Hatfielder. It's good to have a social character as cool as we do.
Okay, where do you think the responsibility lies on A, the behaviour of a social event, and B, cleaning up afterwards?
With regards to health and safety and all the technical things that go on behind social events, in order to ensure that with social events you guys have an absolute amount of fun. I know that in the background there's lots of technical things that need to be done. For example, when we were preparing for the Midlands Bowl, we had the manual handling training and this and that, and I know that preparing for line and winter, a lot of people have had the same training. And I think it's absolutely crucial to make sure that some people do the serious side of the event so that other people can just enjoy the fun side without worrying that something's going to go wrong. As a member of DEX for line and winter, we have to make sure everything's fireproofed and not a health hazard or not a safety hazard or a security hazard. And it takes a lot of thought to kind of think of every single detail of an event, but also it's not that hard once you have it all done, and I would try very hard to make sure that all the serious matters are handled way before the event takes place so that it would go off without any hitches.
So of the exec officers, you have the largest budget to look after. So what experiences have you got and what would you do if you started to struggle?
As head of logistics for this school conference that I was talking about, they gave me my own budget because our treasurer fell ill and had to leave school for about a month before the conference, and she didn't come. So having that responsibility, first of all, was a huge shock when I first had that. I'm like, what am I going to do with all this money? And because the money had to go into negotiating with hotel prices and bus prices, picking up people from the airport and train stations, there was just so much to be thought about. But after that experience, I became a huge believer in Excel spreadsheets where you just kind of list everything with their price and this and that, just to keep everything organized. I'm a very visual person. I like listing things and putting them down. And having it in one place together, it really helps. And so I think that if I did get appointed to the position with the largest budget, I would allocate the budget into specific components way before they would have to be used, and just so that we know what we have to do and how much money we have to do it, so that we prevent any last-minute problems with budgets as well.
College events often involve alcohol. How do you ensure that the events you organise are enjoyable for drinkers and non-drinkers alike?
I think that even right now, without any interference or any improvements per se, there's always a good balance, I find, in social events of alcoholic and non-alcoholic drinks. For example, jazz and mocktails is always really fun when Kinky Jeff play. And you don't have to drink, and it's a good time. But at the same time, we have, for example, the beer festival that we organize. And it's always good to have a balance of that. I do think that it's important to cater to everyone's need. I mean, university is a time when you can drink, but not necessarily that you have to get smashed every single day. So providing alternatives is basically the exec's job, both socially and in terms of alcohol as well. So I think that in order to make sure that that is carried out all the time, in every single event, it will require a certain amount of thought, and I would try to make myself accessible all the time. People that know me know how much I use my phone and my internet and my 3G all the time. So I could be open for emailing, for this and that, if anyone had any trouble with, felt uncomfortable about, for example, the alcohol being served, or just felt uncomfortable in general with bar quizzes and so on.
Any further questions?
Just one final for me. Obviously, you know that as a social secretary, you're in charge of what this year has been a fairly large team. Obviously, you can't do everything on your own. How do you propose to utilise your ends team? Would you do anything different?
I was really happy with the ends team this year because we were such a large team and it made everything so much easier, especially, for example, the biggest event that we did in the first term was the Michaelmas Ball. And I always felt that we had allocated our jobs so nicely amongst each other that no one felt too weighed down. For example, Matt's the third year, but then there were so many second years, like Caroline, for example, and then I'm a first year. So we all have a different amount of responsibility when it comes to that. And when choosing the ends team again next year, I make sure that it's a varied group of people, a varied group of responsibilities, and that people are allocated jobs, for example, weeks before, so people can plan themselves. I wouldn't put too much responsibility on one person as opposed to another. And I try to take everyone's preferences into consideration. But overall, I think it's so important to capture a good team dynamic, and I'm really happy that we had a great team dynamic this year. And basically, the ends team this year is what made me want to run for social site now. And yeah, I think that's it.
Any questions from the floor? Yes.
With James graduating, how do you propose to start our own tech events next year?
That's a really good question. I am no tech person myself, but I know how valuable James is to most of them. In fact, I'm pretty sure all of the major events at college. I mean, I'm pretty sure in every single event, including Taming of the Shrew, which was last weekend, if we didn't have James around to help, we'd be really, really confused. So I'd make sure that if I was appointed, I would ask James to perhaps come in and maybe create a mentor, like be a mentor to someone that could work, like similarly to him. Of course, not saying that he's replaceable, which he definitely isn't. But I do know that it's a big issue because not a lot of people are willing to do something as technical as lights and sound and so on. But I would definitely put that on the top of my priorities because I know that next year, if I do want to try out new activities and new traditions and so on, I will need a good tech background. So I will definitely ensure that that is in place before the year is over.
Any further questions from the floor? Any further questions from the floor? Great, in which case, if you have anything to add to
I don't think I have anything to add, except I'll just say something really short. I know I have a lot to live up to, especially with Hatfield Day, which is going to be at the end of the year, and which means I'm going to have to start working from day one if I can. And I don't want the fact that I'm not running against anyone else, except Ron, who's a very scary candidate. I don't want that fact to just make you vote for me as a last resort. I really do want to do a lot for the college. I'm really passionate about social events. I really think that what made me apply for Hatfield in the first place was I looked through the catalogue of all these colleges and I'm like, what am I going to apply for? And it said the Hatfield Spirit. And basically, the social events in college are what made the Hatfield Spirit what it is. And, well, at least they're a big component of it. I know there are lots of other things, for example, like welfare is huge in Hatfield. But I definitely try really hard to make sure that that is carried out. I wouldn't let anyone down, and I would make myself very accessible for your suggestions, because it's not only me that's going to be enjoying these social events, it's all of you. So obviously I would want to hear all of your ideas, even more than my own. And I think that's it.
Thank you.